Hey, Dave. Good morning to you. We got our first guest up for the rapid fire segment. That is Nemo Nation.
We do indeed. Eric Teoh is about to join us. Eric is the Director of Statistical Services at the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety and Highway Loss and Data Institute. Eric, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you with us. We've had your fellows on the air through the years. You know, you guys come up with some really valuable information, valuable guidance for all of us out there on the road. Just want to say hello. And speaking of on the road, you heading out anywhere for Labor Day?
No, I'm not. I'm actually doing a nice little staycation here.
Ah, yeah, fantastic, fantastic. We're going to kind of jump right in here, and I'm going to kind of open up here, and you just take the ball and run with it, if you will. But when it comes to the today's topic, how safe driving apps could benefit safety research, I don't think there's any question about the validity of that. But Eric, there's no question about the benefits of ECM telematics data in getting to the unbiased and accurate information about driver behavior and getting to the what really happened, okay? And this data comes directly from the vehicle, unbiased. It can give us an accurate picture of how, say, we make changes or improvements or upgrades to interchanges, as you guys point out. But the data is supposed to be anonymous. And some say Big Brother ain't going to stand for that. In fact, Edmunds, a very famous car vetting place, last August, about a year ago, said they had put out a piece entitled "Your Car Data is a Privacy Nightmare." I know you guys have heard this 1,000 times. How do we gel all of these factors together to make this all work? Because we've already seen privacy breaches early on in terms of cars being tracked.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could tell you that everything that we receive to analyze is completely anonymized in the sense that, number one, we don't have any name or anything identifying attached to it. But number two, and probably more importantly, is it's aggregated to a certain level. So if we're studying drivers on a given road segment, we only know there were X number of drivers and they spent this proportion of time on their phone, that sort of thing. There's no way to track it back to anybody. And yeah, but I think like you highlighted, these data is a really interesting new opportunity to study distraction because distraction, in particular phone use, is just so difficult to measure with traditional methods. And for example, a police officer asking someone who was just involved in a crash, were you on your phone? Let's just say that's not a good way to measure it, okay? So telematics addresses some of those limitations of police-reported crash data and roadside observation data to figure out, aside from crashes, how many people just in general were on their phone. Like you said, the measurement is unbiased, but of course there's a limitation to these data too, is that it's people that opt into the app. And there has been a concern that, it's the sort of safer people that are more likely to choose to do this. But we did do a study comparing what we see with telematics to what we see with a well-known national roadside observation study that's been going on for years. And they come to the same conclusions. So, we know that all data have limitations and so forth, but, that made us a lot more comfortable about what we're looking at. And another big advantage of these data are if you're trying to study, like you mentioned, some infrastructure change, like changing an intersection, putting in a speed safety camera, something like that. One of the problems with traditional methods, as in sending roadside observers out there or whatever, is we often don't hear about these changes until they happen. So it's very difficult to collect data on what it looked like before. Whereas with telematics data, since it all just kind of, let's say, exists, you could specify, I need data from this road segment on these two time periods and so forth, and then get that data and do a study, even if you weren't made aware of the change before it happened.
The all cars at this point, all trucks at this point don't have telematics, don't have the ADAS, the advanced driver assist, systems and things like that. So, but more and more will. Is there a point to where at what percentage do we need to get to before we get completely accurate data? Because at some point or another, every vehicle out there will be giving data, so then you'll have 100% coverage, right? But that must be at least years out, if not maybe a couple of decades out. Does that make sense to
Yeah,
you?
well, it makes sense. Yeah. So to be clear, these safe driving apps are the type of things people use to save money on their insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's different than the ADAS systems that are like automatic emergency braking and those sorts of things. But in terms of how many people need to use it to have accurate data, I mean, there's not really a single number there. I mean, always more data is better, right? But, we already have quite a number of people using it. I don't know how many that is, but we are already getting pretty accurate data and are using this data for studies.
Is it a two-edged sword? And what I mean by that is when in the trucking world, when cameras first came out, it was seen to be very iffy, and then folks started to realize, well, wait a minute, if I'm doing the right thing, I'm good, but if I'm doing the wrong thing, it's bad. So there's that two-edged sword kind of a thing. And then when you had the little dongles that you put into the ECM in cars to get a discount on insurance, another two-edged sword. So when it comes to, and I'm going to kind of circle back to the human element here because that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of pushback do you get on that? Because there's got to be pushback.
Maybe there is. What I end up seeing is the data set at the back end. I think the pushback would be with people's insurers or with their fleet managers or whoever, and I'm not involved in any of those.
Sure.
But I do agree with you that, if you have this sort of technology, let's say watching your driving, if you're driving well, then there's a benefit. So with these safe driving apps, you get a bigger discount, that sort of thing. And on the driver-facing camera side, if you're doing well and you get a hard braking event, you get to explain to your supervisor, this is why that guy cut me off and I avoided a crash.
My wife and I were out. I got a new car last year, and it has all the bells and whistles.
It's nice.
Yeah. So we're out looking at Christmas decorations, one night in the neighborhood, and the car keeps telling me, keep your eyes on the road, keep your eyes on the road. Now, that is being tabulated someplace, right? In other words, is that warning recorded?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Is there a list of things that are recorded? In other words, there's all kinds of stuff like if I don't put my blinker on to change lanes, the car does not like that. So that is a thing. It's a safety thing. And it's a valuable thing. But again, it can be used against you in a court of law. I hate to put it that way, but you know what I'm saying. You don't always put your blinker on if there's nobody around, but the car doesn't care if there's anybody around. That's the way it's built. So do we have a good list and a bad list, so to speak, of the kind of technologies that we need to look out for?
So I'm not aware of them collecting information on things like that.
Okay.
Which is, say, lane departure warning activations. This is probably what you were experiencing.
Yeah.
But there is a thing called an event data recorder in cars.
Right.
And there is somewhere in the Federal Register or wherever a list of the data elements that are required to be recorded. It's mainly things like, were you applying the brake, how much throttle were you applying, maybe steering wheel angle, whether the airbag deployed, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing if you look at the list, it'll probably be less things than you think are on there.
By the way, I'm actually looking at Dave and giving him a look of consternation because I'm saying, please don't give people listening these ideas. They haven't been implemented yet. Now Dave is actually telling them to kind of look at this stuff, and people are growing it all over the country. It is limited,
Right.
is it not, Eric? I mean, there is, as you said, there is a limitation here. It isn't as substantial as you think. But is it imperative then that the people who actually are doing this make it really clear what is happening, because it might take a lot of the fears of Big Brother out of the equation? Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think companies offering things like this always need to be upfront about their privacy and what is and isn't happening.
Yeah, and I always feel like they are to the legal limit of it, and then you get some document that goes on for like 1,000 years, and then you just have to click at the bottom if you want to get the groovy new service. For your staycation, by the way, we got to tell you goodbye this morning, but it's been a pleasure having you on. For your staycation, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to make that weekend as easy as possible?
Oh, I'm probably gonna go paddle my kayak in the river and play some pool and throw stuff.
Well, I think I'm going to
It'll be
staycation
good.
with you. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it's going to come down to. You buried the lead kind of on that. I'm just going to stay home. People are like, oh, he's just going to stay home. And it's like, oh, yeah, there's a river right next to me that I can kayak down. By the way, kayaking is some of the best exercise out there, Eric. Have the best
Oh,
of
it is,
weekends,
yeah.
and it's good to have you. Please promise us you'll come back.
All right, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Eric Teoh, everybody, the Director of Statistical Services at the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety.